This is the Russian Dynamite, Masha Slamovich.
Becca here.
This is not America's Sweetheart, Davian. And
It's Billy Starks. And
the super fly guy, Trayvon Jordan.
This is the fly side flyer, Jalen Brandon.
Hardcore Princess, Jules Malone.
Hi there, this is the Bubblegum Princess, Alexia Nicole.
This is the Brazilian Wonder Woman, Christy Jane.
This is the baddest black belt, Chennai Kai.
This is Kid Bandit.
The smash hit Joel Bateman.
This is Robin Renegade.
Cody Hawk.
Brutal Bob Evans. And you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
Hi, this is Lola Harvey, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, the only audio experience on the web today, the trusted choice for interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox, sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I'm, of course, your host, James J., and it is a great day for wrestling, because we are wrestling with the Duchess, Lola Harvey.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here, so thank you.
Absolutely. It's exciting to have you on as well. Can you tell us where the Duchess is going to be next event-wise?
Yeah, event-wise, it's not going to be for quite a time in the future. In April for so for APW, I will be wrestling for them April come 2024. That's currently all that I have booked at the moment.
Okay, and where can we find you on social media?
Yeah, social media right now, you can find me on Instagram at Duchess_Lola Harvey. Facebook is also the same as well, Duchess Lola Harvey, and also on TikTok as well. So if you care to check me out there, it would be the same, Duchess_Lola Harvey.
Are we doing the Wednesday Adam dance yet on TikTok?
No, not yet. You know what? I had just finished that series. Amazing. But no, I have not done the dance yet.
And you can find all of our social media in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox. Alright, you work for EWA and Impact Pro Wrestling. Can you tell us about your relationship with those companies?
Yeah, absolutely. Impact, I've actually had a long-lasting relation with that company for Impact Pro Wrestling. I've actually been with that company for about 10 years. Had worked behind the scenes and running merchandise and helping out promote the show, setting up events. And then I actually stepped into the ring, did some training with them. Oh, goodness. I want to say it was 2022. Sorry, it's been a while since I've graduated from their training. And then I just actually had a newborn, so that kind of slowed down some things. And
as it does.
Yes. So new mom experience here, and got back into the ring January of this year after being medically cleared, and just started wrestling. Have not run a show for Impact yet. Would love to as soon as their next event comes up. And I actually started working for EAW in August of this year. And my relationship with them, I've known Austin Fouts since actually his days with Impact Pro Wrestling. And so we've had a relationship built from just being around each other from Impact and working with him for merchandise. And so when he started running his own promotion, reached out as soon as I was done with training, and was able to be on their show August 18th of this year.
And that was, correct me if I'm wrong, your first match.
Yes, that is correct. Mm-hmm.
you wrestled the Hale twins, Briar and Sage. Shout out to them, friends of the shows.
Yes.
Could you tell us about that experience to have your very first match?
Yeah, that was amazing. I've actually known those girls through their training experience. So, known them from since they started and then since they've been working matches. Um, and actually, for my first match, that was a really good pick to have the opportunity to wrestle both of those girls. I think they are fantastic talent and they are rising stars in this industry. So I was very honored to have a triple threat match with them. So Sage was really fun to work with, and we did a little heel on heel with against Briar. So that was a little fun, and yeah, it was a great experience. I could not have asked for anything better. And I look forward to having another match with them.
And I mean, in that area, the girls that they do have are very talented, but unfortunately, there's not a lot of them. So it's essentially just Sage versus Briar and Briar versus Sage. So I
Mhm.
can only imagine how excited they were to be in the ring with somebody other than their twin.
Yes, yes. The talent and the women's division on the indies is very scarce. There are a bunch of women actually in the Midwest area. I would say a handful of them that are fantastic in themselves as well. However, few and far between. So,
Right.
trying to get bookings with other women in the area is a little rough. But yes, I'm sure that they were ecstatic to have someone else like myself in there with them. So I was happy to perform.
What was that moment like when you came out the curtain for the first time?
It was it was just mind blowing, I would say. It was exciting and thrilling and nerves all the way around, of course. First match, you're kind of dealing with stage fright a little bit and all these questions just coming in your mind like, am I doing this right? Is everything going as planned? Am I going to mess up? Like, there's all those questions. But ultimately, just stepping through that curtain was just, yes, I am here.
Was that um was that a moment like you took in the moment, or is it something that kind of sits in after the fact? Like, wow, I did that.
Yeah, it was definitely a sets in afterwards because in the moment, you're not really, I mean, you're on cloud nine. So you're not
Right.
really thinking about anything else other than just, oh my gosh, I'm here, and it's happening. So let's get out there, let's work, let's make it the best that we can, and really give the crowd the best match that they've seen for that night. So you're really reminiscing after the match.
No, like you mentioned it, you've been around the pro wrestling world for around a decade.
Mhm.
What essentially made you pull the trigger of actually getting into the ring?
Yeah, so I've had a lot of back and forth with myself over the course of 10 years, trying to decide what is the right moment for me. And ultimately, it just came to a realization that as the years go on, I am missing out on opportunity, and there's no more for that. I just at some point you just have to rip the band-aid off and say, if you don't try it, you'll never know. So for me, it was, I don't want to have any regrets.
Was there like a specific moment that you remember that triggered that emotion to say this is 100% I'm going to do this?
I would say that just the encouragement from other women in the locker room actually gave me that confidence boost to really pursue it. I think having conversation after conversation with other women talent and just discussing kind of my fears about it, and then also what I've expected if I do decide to wrestle. Um, just getting some encouragement from those women kind of helped, instill this sense of belonging and sense that yes, I can do this as a female, given my age, and I there wasn't anything else that was holding me back at that point. I just said this is something that I need to do, and having that encouragement from the women in the locker room certainly definitely helped.
What would you say are maybe some of the advantages and disadvantages of starting your pro wrestling career maybe a little bit later than usual?
Yeah, so I would say the advantages is definitely being around the business for that long. You pick up what's right, what's wrong as far as oh,
Etiquette.
what do you want to say? Etiquette, yes, thank you. Wrestling etiquette. So you definitely learn what to do, what to say, what not to say, things like that. And it really, you start to understand more, especially from working behind the scenes, how matches are put together, how the storylines are brought into place. And it's just, that has been super helpful, I think, as far as having that starting point of just getting into the business, whether that's merch or helping set up the events. You actually know what's going on, so you know a little bit more of what to expect when you start to wrestle. And I think that's also, on the other side, it could be a downfall as well, is because not only are you you've let all this time go by, so physically it's not very great on your body. But as long as you take the steps to make sure that you're healthy, you're getting your regular medical routines, you're taking care of yourself nutrition wise, I think age is just a number. But yeah, I'd say that would be one of the disadvantages of starting late, is that you kind of run out of time, I think, for some opportunities that might be handed to younger wrestlers. And unfortunately, that's just the business that we're in. But I feel like there's still room to grow, and still room for some of those older talents to still make it.
Like you said, you've been around the business for a decade. You've been running March, for your husband, who is also a wrestler.
Mhm.
But being associated with wrestling and being in wrestling are two kind of different things. I mean, like you said, you've helped around the Impact Pro Wrestling. Um, so that's not necessarily something you had to do, considering your association. But what
Mhm.
kind of made you want to do that?
Yeah, for me, it was fun. Honestly, I come actually from a world where my family is from California,
Oh,
and
lovely.
we actually grew up in an MMA martial arts household. And so I think just being behind the scenes of events and of sports entertainment has been in my blood, really. My grandfather, my grandmother, my father, my uncles, everyone, they actually own their own martial arts studio and wrestling and MMA chain in California. So
Mm.
I think just helping out, being involved in martial arts since I was 2, actually helped. And so when I moved to the Midwest, I think I was looking for um, that same involvement, that same belonging in the sports entertainment world. And
Okay.
so just being around wrestling and having another another business like something so similar to what I grew up with, made me actually just want to get involved in any way that I could.
Now, is incorporating some of your MMA training something we're going to see in your matches down the line?
You know, my strikes maybe. I am actually more of a technical wrestler, I feel like. I I don't know. I maybe we can say maybe because my strikes for sure, and maybe some kicks in there. Yeah, I can probably include some of those too. But yes, I definitely like putting on ankle locks. I think that's my favorite so far. So,
Well, I mean, you did meet Kurt Angle, so I mean, maybe he gave you some tips on how to put it on. I mean, you're not going to go wrong with that.
no. No, we actually worked on a modified move for that, and it's one of my favorites right now. But yes, Kurt was amazing. Had my son with me that day, and my husband, and it was great.
Right. Now, when you after you had your son, your goal was to be ready for the Luthez Hall of Fame event to actually
Mhm.
compete. Um,
Yeah.
you unfortunately did not reach that goal. A month later, you would compete in your first match. But
Mhm.
next year, 2024, is that something that you have your mind on?
Yes, absolutely. I think this year I just missed that mark. Between the time of training and the time for setting up that show, I think that there was just a mutual understanding between myself and the promoter that this Hall of Fame show probably would not be a good opportunity or good spot for me to be in at this moment, just given the amount of training I've had, and then also not being fully ready with gear or anything like that. So I think it was the best decision because not only am I thinking about how I want to present myself as a character and a wrestler, but also what I'm doing for that promotion as well. So I don't think that it would have been the best decision made had I wrestled 2023, but definitely will be looking forward to wrestling 2024 for that Hall of Fame show.
And you've been involved in those Hall of Fame events for quite some time. And obviously, Luke does not a small name in the pro wrestling world. So what does it kind of mean to you to take part in those events? Because there has been some rather big names inducted into that Hall of Fame.
Yes, absolutely. And it would be an amazing honor to even be considered part of that show. We've had names go through on that mat and wrestle that have been amazing. I mean, we've had Ricochet come in before he wasn't known as Ricochet. Um, and Sammy Callahan, they both had an amazing match. And I feel like there's been other talent. I mean, Victoria with Miss Frankie J. So, I mean, it would be an amazing honor if I would be even considered to wrestle at that Hall of Fame show.
Well, you got your eyes set on next year, and let's see if that how that goes.
Hmm. Absolutely.
And like you mentioned, you do have a son. Maybe a little too young to understand what mommy's doing right now. But when he does get older, old enough to understand, what do you want him to see when you get in the ring?
Yeah, I just want him to see that no matter what, it's okay to go after your dreams. It's okay to go after your goals and, never give up. That is what I really want him to focus on, that anything is possible if you put the work into it.
Right. And that being said, what are the advantages and disadvantages of having your significant other in the same profession as yourself?
Yeah, so we always get questions about that. And he started way before I did. I mean, he started at the beginning of our 10 years beforehand. And the advantages would be to definitely have his guidance. There are times where I would question, okay, is this appropriate to do? Can I ask these questions with the promoters? And he would give me some guidance on what I should do, what I shouldn't do, how I would word things. Because not only do I work with the merchandise, but I also help with reaching out to other promoters, some of the communication side of that, setting up bookings, working out the travel details, things like that. So he's been there for really support and guidance on how to approach different situations. And I think some of the disadvantage is that I can't pinpoint disadvantages for it because he's not involved in my training at all. And that was one of our discussions, was that he really wanted me to thrive in my own and not have a huge influence on how I perform or how I want to portray myself as a professional wrestler. So I think that could be a disadvantage. I don't know. Not being able to get trained by him as I would love to, even though there's some days where we do mess around. He'll put me in a headlock every now and then he'll complain that I don't sell for him. But yeah, I would say that would be my disadvantage, is not being able to have that training for him. But I understand why, and I think that's the advantage of it.
It kind of sounds like you've had all of the experience an independent pro wrestler has had, except for actually getting in the ring before you got in the ring.
Right. Which will change as time goes along. So it's just a matter of, just making sure that you're resilient to making sure that you're reaching out and not being afraid to ask for that booking, or approach some of these independent pro wrestling businesses and ask them, hey, not being afraid to say, are you available this date, or I have these dates available, would you be interested in booking me? So yeah.
All right. Now, another interesting thing, and I love finding these types of things. The gender of your baby was revealed during a wrestling match, no?
Yes, it was. You did some digging. Yes, myself and my husband had decided that it would be a neat idea to have a wrestling match. Yes, to find out our gender, what we were having. And we are close with the Impact Pro Wrestling family, and I can't say enough good things about that promotion. But as everyone there treats you like family, and so it wasn't. They were actually very delighted to receive the news that we wanted to have a match to find out our gender, and so that was a very, very fun experience, nerve-wracking experience, because of course there were false finishes, and for me as a mother, I'm thinking, oh my goodness. I'm like, just pin him already. So it was very, very unique and also very fun.
Did you find yourself cheering for one side rather than the other?
Yes, absolutely. I have been. I don't know if it's just intuition or what, but I've always wanted a boy, and so of course I would be rooting for the blue team, and yeah, that's what I got. So I couldn't ask for anything better.
Okay. Well, I think it's once again time for that segment, Lola's Bizarre Adventure. You're a pro wrestler in the pro wrestling world, and crazy and bizarre things are bound to happen. Can you tell us a road story that fits that description?
Oh gosh, crazy road story. Oh, I'm trying to dig. I mean, we've been on lots of road trips. Gosh, crazy, bizarre. Yes, actually, one does come to mind. We were traveling back from an Algona show, actually. Algona, Iowa, which is a little bit northern Iowa, so very close to about 2 hours south, I would say, 2, 3 hours south of the Minnesota border. We had a show there, and it was late at night. We were carpooling. There was a bunch of other wrestlers that were coming back. My husband actually drove with another one of the wrestlers, and I drove with his girlfriend at the time. I had to drive in her vehicle, and it was pitch black going on the highway. I mean, you're out in the middle of nowhere. So there's no buildings around you, nothing. It's just road ahead of you, and it's just pitch black. And Highway 20 is known for being in my opinion, the most boring drive that you can take to get to the interstate for Des Moines. And we're heading back in that direction. And all of a sudden, Highway 20 has these splits where you can stop in the middle of the section because there's a stop sign there, and then you can continue to go straight across the highway. Well, we were coming up to a split, and I don't even know what it was. I mean, I'm a firm believer of mystical creatures. So I do believe in the chupacabra and Bigfoot and whatnot. Some people call me crazy, and my husband looks at me like I'm crazy because I swear up and down. And the gal that I was riding with, we both agreed that we saw this thing charge across the road and just like, I don't know, it still gives me the chills. The only closest thing that I can describe it as is the chupacabra. I mean, there's nothing else that I can describe what that thing looked like. And I told my husband right after when we got home about it, and he was like, "Yeah, you didn't see that. You saw a deer." I'm like, "No, this thing was bigger than a deer. It was huge." And Kaylee agreed. I mean, she was in the car, and I have an eyewitness, so we know what we saw. I would say that would be the most craziest thing that I can think of off the top of my head right now. But yeah, there's been others, but yeah, that was definitely the most interesting. I'm trying to think of the other stories too. I mean, because we traveled to Minnesota. I would say, well, it wasn't crazy in the sense, but I mean, we did take some road trips to Texas. And so travel wise, I mean, their traffic is insane. Yeah, the posted speed limits are 55 and people are doing like 90. I'm like, yeah, we are definitely not from this neck of the woods. So, yeah, and it's just, I would have to say the other, just driving by myself, getting to Marshalltown, Iowa, just some of the locations, you get some of these addresses and you're like, you get there and you're like, is someone going to murder me? I mean, you just get some of that like vibe and it's like, okay, it's a little sketch. Yeah, so it's very unique experiences with wrestling. Definitely takes you out of your comfort zone and takes you to places where it's like, questionable. My husband always reminds me, he's like, you know what? It's fine. You're going to be in a good place. Once you get there, it'll be fine. Yeah. The other experience I can think of is actually going to a show in the midst of a tornado.
Oh my gosh.
There was, yeah, well, there was a storm really bad in Des Moines, and we wrestled at this high school. I mean, there's a show that was put on there, and sirens went off. It was pitch black outside. I'm like, oh my gosh, are we gonna get swept away by a tornado? Yeah, that I would say that would be another one. I mean, I left the school after the sirens went off because I mean we didn't think anything was gonna drop from the sky. You know, we've been in Iowa for a while, so we know when there's gonna be a tornado or not. But I mean, still, it's kind of eerie. Left, went to get food, came back. It was still pitch black, but thankfully by the time we got back, I mean, the wind started picking up, and yeah, there was a tornado that touched down. However, it wasn't. I want to say it was like 15, 20 miles south of where we were at. So still very close, but not near the school. So I was kind of happy about that. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of any other stories. I'm sure there's some that will come after, but yeah, for right now.
Well, there were some pretty interesting stories, to say the least.
Yeah, yeah, there's been quite a few times where you run into things like that. Like I said, I mean, that's also the other beauty of this business is you never know what you're gonna get, and it's always entertainment, always.
That being said, was there any paranormal activity in Sleepy Hollow?
So there, I mean, there's always paranormal activity. I mean, in my opinion, yes. My opinion, yes. But actually, I believe what you're referring to is the photo on my Instagram. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's actually a picture that is an inspirational. It's something that I actually want to do. So one of my goals and bucket list, and actually it's both of myself and my husband, is that we would love to wrestle on the East Coast. And there is a couple places out there, but Sleepy Hollow is one that is on my bucket list for Halloween. So Sleepy Hollow, New York. Yeah, it's up there. But I'm sure, I mean, there's so much craziness going on, especially with paranormal around that and Salem. And those have just always been something that I've wanted to do. So.
But you was at an event in Crystal Lake, no?
Yes, that is correct. Crystal Lake is, we actually did that show, I want to say it was October, was it Friday the 13th, if I recall. I want to say it was. I don't quote me on that because I can't remember. But yes, we did a show in Crystal Lake, and oh gosh, I remember that show was cold that day because I slipped on ice. I do remember that. And yeah, well, I slipped on ice outside the venue that we were at, and my husband wrestled at that show, and he had his Jason mask on, very fitting for Crystal Lake.
Yes.
But yes, I remember that show being so cold. But it was a great show. Big Picture versus Death Dealer on that card.
And you
So,
didn't hear the key.
Oh, I'm sure he was. There's a legend that there was something at the bottom of that lake over there, and it's creepy. But yeah, I think he's there.
Well, if the movies are any indication, then there definitely is.
Yes, they pulled something out of that lake for sure. It's eerie. If you ever get a chance to go to Crystal Lake, Iowa, that is just, yeah.
even if I have the option to go there, I highly doubt I would. It's the exact same reason I don't want to see meet Jamie Lee Curtis. Why would I want to risk that?
Right. Oh my goodness.
Now, on a less smoky paranormal topic, you was in Las Vegas for SummerSlam, no?
We were in Las Vegas, not for SummerSlam. We were in Vegas. Oh, gosh, just trying to think of the time frame. Because I had a couple of trips that year. I believe it was just actually to visit family in Vegas when we went, because at the time my father lived in California. Now he does reside in Iowa, but lots of trips back and forth. We have not done a SummerSlam there, but we have done WrestleMania in New York and Orlando.
And I mean, what is that experience like? Being in the world of professional wrestling and being at literally the biggest show that pro wrestling can produce.
So I will give you some insights on those. When we went to New York, that was MetLife Stadium. And at that time, I would say I was very, very, very green to pro wrestling. I had no idea who people were. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Of course, I told my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, we weren't married yet, but I told him, I said, hey, do you want to go to WrestleMania? There's this thing in New York. I think we can go. And oh my gosh, you can see his eyes just sparkle with excitement, because he was like, yeah, we are going. So I, not knowing who any of these wrestlers were at the time, now looking back, that would have been the prime time I would have loved to start wrestling. And that is something I would tell my younger self, is you need to get into this business at this time. But I mean, I was around Maurice and Maria Bennett and Bennett Canales, and DDP at the time, and the Usos. And I mean, looking back now, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. But now it's like, I wish I would have, like I said, gotten into the business at that point, because at that time, I had no idea who I was around. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, I'll take a picture. Yeah, and even being around, oh gosh, I can't, Renee, and getting a chance to see her and everybody else who was, because not only do we go to the shows, but we also make it a point to do access. And Orlando, which I'll get into, was a little bit of a different experience, but we make a point to do the extra activities, because well, of course, my husband was a fan at that time, and of course, I'm supportive of whatever ventures that he's into.
Right.
And I also like to learn about the business as well. So it was a great experience. Very much set the tone for how to travel. At that time, I was 20. I was not very keen on traveling, like how to book like flights up and things like that. So it was all very new. So I think that set the tone for later on how to actually schedule travel plans, because I would actually be doing that for some people for wrestling. So yeah, I think that experience alone kind of helped. And then also with Orlando, New York set the tone for that one as well, because we actually knew a little bit more of where to attend some of these events, what to look out for. We in Orlando, they did access. We did attend, and actually met up with Mike and Maria there and had a fantastic chat with Maria. Very long conversation, and it was fantastic. And we dug in a little bit deeper in Orlando to go to different events that were maybe not on the mainstream radar. And what I mean about that is that there were Revolver shows, there were other indie shows that were around the area that we actually got to see. And that was a great experience. So for us, it's not just about Mania, but it's actually supporting wrestling as a whole, supporting the community on an indie level as much as a professional level, on a mainstream level. So yeah, those experiences were great. Like I said, New York, I would say that would have been a beginner's experience. Orlando was more of, I think that was more of I know what's going on. I know who some of these people are, so I can really enjoy it. And also, getting to see the Hardys come back, I think that was the loudest pop I've ever heard. So that was incredible as well.
And one person that maybe you didn't know, but then you did know was Alexa Bliss. No?
Yes. Alexia is one of my favorite wrestlers. She, if I could have a dream match with her, that would be amazing. She is also a new mom recently, so congratulations, Alexi Kaufman. Yes, I met her in Des Moines. Fantastic to meet her. I was just actually sitting on my couch one night, and my husband looks over and he goes, "Hey, do you want to go meet Alexa Bliss?" I'm like, yeah. I'm like, "Do you have to say any more?" Yeah. So it's actually a work day for me, and we took the day off and went to go stand in line at Cricket Wireless. It was around the building, and it was raining that day, so I stood there in the rain for her.
Wow.
Which I'm sure she appreciated. But yeah, she's such a sweetheart. It was great to meet her, and then also we won tickets to Raw that day too, so that was great. We hadn't planned on going to Raw because the events were we were going to see Alexa Bliss at Cricket, and then in the following week we had the Cauliflower Alley Club in Vegas. So we were trying to plan out our travel days and see what we can kind of squeeze in before going to Vegas, and we happened to go to Raw that night too. So we're like, well, okay, let's squeeze this in. So yeah, it was great.
And what's Cauliflower Alley Club, another great organization and Hall of Fame. What was that experience
Mhm.
like being there?
Yes, so we do go to Cauliflower Alley Club every year if we can. We've been going for the past 3 years. Correct me if I'm wrong. My husband's standing right here. So we've been going for quite some time, and that experience is always amazing. They do a great job with that. We stay at the hotel, and the years that we've gone, it's been at the Gold Coast Hotel and Casino. And I believe this last year they switched it up and went downtown Fremont to do the inductions there. But every year we've gone, and it's been at the Gold Coast. And the Gold Coast in itself it's a relaxing hotel. It's not on the strip, so you're kind of off a little bit. But if you want to visit the strip or go have fun, do all the touristy things, you still can, because it's just a bus ride away. It's not that far.
Right.
So you kind of get a best of both worlds. I think, just you really feel like you're in a sense of community. I mean, when you go, and it's great. I mean, they do have a show that they put on before the inductions, and I believe the show is one night, and then the awards ceremony is another, and it's really broken up, kind of similar to Impact Pro Wrestling's Hall of Fame, actually very similar, but Brian Blair, he is one of the representatives for Cauliflower Alley Club, and he does an amazing job of promoting that, making sure that the event is, really succeeds for that year and every year after that. Puts a lot of time and effort into that event, and it shows, because you really feel like you're a part of that community when you go to that event. So yeah, I just encourage everyone, if you have not checked out Cauliflower Early Club, become a member, and try to get out to Vegas if you can, because it's incredible.
All right. Now, can you tell us about Dutch Clutch?
Yeah, so that's actually the start of a clothing brand. So I have got a few designs on there. It's still an evolving brand. So actually, pro wrestlers have merchandise, and they bring it to the show and we sell it there. Well, I kind of wanted to be a little bit more innovative with it, because to me, you're establishing yourself as having your own brand. I mean, you are your own wrestler, so have fun with it. Who are you as a wrestler? What do you want to promote? And so, I came up with Dutch Clutch, and I was still working out some ideas. This was actually right as when I was starting training, kind of just messing around with things, and it just stuck. I'm still building it, like I said, but there are still some items on the storefront. So if you're interested in purchasing any of my quote unquote merch, you are welcome to visit. So that would be amazing.
Yeah, and you can absolutely find the link to in the description of the video below. So you can click the link and get some merch.
Yeah.
Now, did Dutch Clutch come out of Bloomdale Paper Company?
It did not. So it actually, so I toy with a lot of different ideas at once. It's kind of my downfall, but I like creating, I like designing, and that's actually something I do on the side. And so Bloomdale is actually a separate entity. Originally was started on that page and then evolved into a different concept. So that's where Dutch Clutch came out of. So I guess to answer your question, probably yes. It started out of Bloomdale, but it's a different, a whole different concept in itself.
Okay. Talking about another thing you've done, could you tell us about Think Like a Boss podcast?
Oh my gosh, you truly did some thinking. Oh my goodness. Yes. So think like a boss. Oh my gosh, yes. So that's actually, it was a project that I had started to get more awareness of your inner leadership. So I actually work for a Fortune 500 company, and am I work on initiative projects like that, and so at the time we were going through COVID, and there was some depletion in company morale. And that podcast came from an idea of not getting into this funk of working from home. What can you still do as an associate to kind of make sure to bring your best self to work? And I feel like some of the topics that are discussed in that podcast can really relate to any company, I feel like, that you're involved in. Any job description. I mean, it could relate to pro wrestling as well, because there's discussions on there of how to make yourself feel, like I said, I mean, bring your best self forward. And also, it's coming from a place of leadership. So encouraging others to take steps to make more of that, those leadership qualities come out. So that was a fun project. And it actually helped a lot of our associates during that transitional time for work from home, from going to the office to 100% work from home. So we had a couple of people at our location that really found that helpful. So yeah, that was also a really fun and unique project. I was very, very new to podcasts, so I don't believe it's something I'm going to continue, honestly. But just looking and finding other ways to share that advice and share that perspective will continue. So, yeah.
Well, why not in the form of a podcast?
I don't know. I mean, it's fun. And I feel like when you have a conversation with somebody else, it's not just yourself, because I mean, I feel like that podcast was a solo podcast. It
Right.
would be fun to actually have more guests on there. So, I mean, there's some opportunity, I believe, and maybe that might evolve. Oh goodness, if I have, I would say in my schedule, and hopefully people will give me grace if my son appears on that podcast every now and then. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. There's never never say never. So yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Is there any significance or meaning behind the tattoo on your arm?
Oh, yes. I actually designed that one. As I mentioned before, I dabble in design. So I actually have some areas in focus of graphic design. So I love art. I used to draw all the time. I actually designed this one, and I have one on my left shoulder blade that I designed myself as well. And so the tattoo on my arm, that came actually right before my wedding. And my husband questioned it. He goes, "Are you sure you really want to get a tattoo there?" He goes, "We're getting married. Are you sure you want that look? And is it something you truly want?" And I said, "You know what? Absolutely. I don't care what other people think of me. I don't care what other people's reactions are going to be. It's for me." So this tattoo, I very much love the sort of mix between kind of spooky, I guess you would say. I don't know how you would describe it, but skulls are really the gothic-y kind of artwork, and then also mix it with florals. I love florals. And so I also wanted to make it a little bit more geographical as well. So there's a lot of so you see those line segments in there. And it's not very symbolic of anything in particular. I do have two siblings, so I guess that would be the only thing that I would tie back to symbolism is the flowers would be a symbol for my siblings. But aside from that, it's really just a work of art. And I absolutely love it. I can't thank the artist who had the opportunity to put it there. So he was actually Christopher Brophy is who did that tattoo, and he was out of Black Rabbit. So, and he's no longer at Black Rabbit, but I believe he does still do individual artwork for people. So, can't thank him enough. He did a great job on it. And yeah, hopefully, if I can track him down again, I would love to get another piece.
Something that you designed, or?
I think maybe a mix. So yeah, I think I would let him maybe put some influence, because he put some influence into this as well. The skull was a little bit changed from what it was originally, but other than that, yeah, I think I might have to come up with something again, and then just have him put his little spice on it as well.
Now, if I could ask, when you came up with that design, was it just a design you came up with, and then, or was it specifically for a tattoo?
No, so originally I was messing around with just a design, and my brother actually had asked me for a tattoo design at that point, and I sent him a couple variations. And actually, if you look at this tattoo and you take away the skull and the flowers and you just look at the graphic piece underneath, where the lines are and the triangles at the bottom, so that was actually part of a different design that I had tweaked a little bit, and then we added the other stuff on top. So it evolved from what it was originally. And originally I didn't even think it was going to be a tattoo until I got took it over to Chris and kind of talked about it a little bit, talked about some of the concepts, and then it just came to life. So it was one of those things that's just it's evolved from one idea to the next.
Okay. It's time for the colossal question. Let's say they're making a movie about you. Every movie has a soundtrack. What would be the first 3 songs on your movie soundtrack?
Oh my gosh. Well, obviously, probably the first one would be Diamonds, of course.
Rihanna?
No. So that is by, let me see if I have a copy of it. No, it is by, it's actually my theme song. And give me 1 second here, because I had it altered, because it does have some cuss words in it. It is from Megan Thee Stallion. Yes. So her Diamonds, probably, if they were making a movie about me and I'm just bringing my authentic self, I would not have the clean version. So it would be the normal cut, and then probably do that. I'm a little mix of everything, but I would probably have, let me find them here. Oh, goodness.
Take your time. Take to your Google machine.
So I'd probably actually have Hollywood Undead as another song, Been to Hell. And I would have the Day to Remember, The Downfall of Us All. So I think those would be my top 3.
All right, solid 3 picks without a doubt. Mm,
Yeah, a little mix of everything, but I think mainly like the edgier stuff mixed with, a little rock. So,
oh yeah.
yeah.
Now that we got the soundtrack down, then you write the script, and then you go to casting. Who plays Lola? And you can't say yourself because you are obligated to make a Stanley-esque cameo.
All right. Um, well, can it be another wrestler?
Yeah, anybody but
Because in that,
yourself.
all right. Well, since I probably got the compliment of this, I would choose probably Deanna Perrazzo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I would cast her. I think she'd do a fantastic job.
All right. Now that we cast the main character, every movie has a supporting cast. Who would be 3 people in your movie that are significant to you in your story, and who would play them?
Oh, goodness. Um, I am gonna go with some more wrestlers because I would probably pick Buddy Murphy. And oh, goodness, who would play them? I'm trying to think of like even actors or actresses that I really enjoy. I would have probably. Oh, goodness sakes. I can't think of the actress's name, but the gal from the gal from Mean Girls. I would say her. Karen. Let me see here.
And Karen from Mean Girls. Hold on. I couldn't think.
Yes, Amanda Seyfried. So
Okay.
I would
Yeah.
probably have Amanda and Buddy Murphy. And I mean, I might cast. Who else would I cast? I'll cast Maria. Maria Bennett is great. So those would be my 3, I think. If you're putting me on the spot.
That's fine. And it sounds like a solid movie, and you could pre-order the tickets now.
Yeah, it'll be on Netflix in a week.
Wow, where do we get the money for Netflix?
Right. Oh, yeah, sponsorships.
Now, could you explain to us why the people at Dunkin' Donuts hate you?
Oh gosh. Yeah, they just they don't like me for my coffee mixes. They don't ever get it right. They actually went away with hazelnut. So when I say we, myself, my husband, we always used to get their hazelnut coffee, iced coffee, coffee of choice all the time. And then all of a sudden they just went away with it. So yeah, they didn't like me at the drive-through when I found out that they don't have it anymore. And so now I have an even more complicated drink. One would think hazelnut iced coffee would be simple, easy to do, and would be a staple in every coffee shop. Unfortunately, just not for Dunkin'. So we switched to Starbucks. I'm sorry. Had to go rogue. We were big supporters of Dunkin', and then yep, just flip the switch. And so now my drink at Starbucks is a iced white mocha with salted cold cream foam and caramel. So yeah, a little bit more complicated than just an iced hazelnut coffee, one would
I'm saying.
think. So yeah, their loss.
Alright, now on to the most controversial of subjects. Pineapple on pizza. What's your stance?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Hands down, yes. Always do pineapple on pizza. And I only say that because I'm allergic to pineapple. So I would before I actually had this allergy, I would do that all the time. Canadian bacon and pineapple on pizza all day long. And then I developed an allergy and could no longer have pineapple. So yeah, I'm jealous of the people who can. So when you can, do pineapple on pizza.
All right. I believe you're the first person to be envious of pineapple on pizza people.
Well, they say what you want, what you can't have. So
All right. What's your spirit Pokemon?
spirit Pokemon. Oh my gosh. I have one in mind. Let me look up the name because lo and behold, used to collect Pokemon cards way back when I had a gold and a silver one of this card, and it is the Mew Mew. So there was the Mew, and then there was the Mew 2, and I had a gold and silver version. They were plated, they were in their cases, and then they were lost forever, and I wish I knew exactly where they went.
Wow.
Because yes, they would have been gold in now's timeline. But yeah, I think Mew would be my spirit Pokemon.
And I know for a fact there's a few people out there that would absolutely say, "What is wrong with you?"
I know, but yeah, sorry,
No,
just my
my
pick.
a previous guest, he in school he used to have a underground Pokemon trading card selling ring.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so he was passionate about it.
Well, I mean, we used to have the deck, and I have older brothers, so I wasn't, unaware of what they were, and it was fun to collect them. So makes you a little nerdy in some people's eyes, but still, it's fun.
Right. Now we love the late great Tracy Smothers on the show. Do you know the acronym for Thug? THUG.
Um, I don't. I can't say I do.
T is for terrible, H is for hell, U is for ugly, and G is for jail. Because a thug can't spell.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. No, they can't.
Now, we love the late great Tracy Smothers on the show, trying to keep the memory alive.
Yes, absolutely.
Weirdest question you'll be asked on a wrestling interview. Would you ever consider wrestling a rock? Not Dwayne Johnson, not the country, an actual physical rock.
Yeah. I mean, I would win, obviously.
Well, I mean, you say that so confidently, like the rock has no chance.
Does it though? I mean, it's just gonna sit there and watch and be in my shadow and limelight, you know. So yeah, I have no shadow of a doubt that I wouldn't say no to wrestling a rock, and I think I'd win.
Alright, well, just for context, there is this wrestler named Psycho Mike that wrestled an actual rock for over 15 minutes in a Tungsten Man match. That's an Iron
Yeah.
Man match that lasts for 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm gonna have to go see that match because I am almost certain that it was entertainment.
It 100% was, and I will send you the match.
Awesome. Yes, I would love to see it.
On a more serious note, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, still wrestling, still a mom. Yeah, I would hope that I'd get some more traveling under my belt. Myself, my husband talked about as our son got older that he is going with us to shows. Actually, he goes with us now, and we would be wrestling. My husband might do a match before me or after me, and our son would be there with us. So that's the dream.
Right. And since you only have the one match against the Hale twins, I will put that match in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox for anybody that hasn't seen it, wants to see it, wants to re-see it after this interview.
Awesome. Yes, check it out.
Yes. And since we are nearing the conclusion of this interview, we are wrestling with the 8 questions of doom.
Dun, dun, dun.
Uh-oh.
This is our speed round or bonus round, the round where we see who you really are. Are you ready?
Oh gosh, I am. When you said doom, 8 questions of doom, I'm like, oh my goodness. Yes, let's go. Let's do it.
Excluding yourself, greatest wrestler of all time.
Oh, excluding myself. James Jeffries. I'm just gonna say it. James Jeffries. If you haven't heard of him, you know what? You're missing out.
Okay. Worst wrestler.
Worst wrestler. Oof. He might hate me for saying this. Daniel Mott. And I mean that in the most loving way possible.
But that's the first time somebody said the worst, but in the most loving way.
He knows I mean well.
You're main eventing WrestleMania for the World Championship. Who is your opponent?
Ooh, wrestling for the World Championship. I would say I would like that to be, oh man, probably I would say Bianca. I mean, that just comes to mind. Bianca Belair.
Okay. If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
Past or present? Shawn Michaels. I enjoyed his entrance.
Oh, yeah. Finish the sentence. Kayfabe is...
Kayfabe is not welcomed. I'm just gonna say it.
We would have also accepted taste great on toast.
Oh, yes.
Squash. Vegetable or fruit?
Ooh, vegetable.
It is indeed a fruit.
Oh, interesting. I am a lover of squash, so butternut, but I did not know it was a fruit.
Well, now you could put it in your fruit salad now.
Oh, well, it pairs nicely with cranberry, so I might.
It has seeds, tomato logic.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. But you are a part of Squash Squad now, and that means a hell of a lot more.
Woo! Yes, let's go, Squash Squad.
New Japan wrestler Tai Chi. His ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the world. My question, what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
Oh my gosh. Trunks to butt cheek ratio. Well, it depends on who they are on, because I mean, if they're on LA Knight, let's go 60-40. 40 being the trunks. Yeah, I don't know. It depends. Depends on who it's on. So, but I mean, you can go 50-50, wouldn't be wrong.
All right. And the last question, the main event, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
About Darby Allin, no. But I have had random conversations with people in supermarkets, so it might come up.
And if it does, send me the video.
Absolutely.
Until then, that is the correct answer. And that will conclude this interview. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me.
Yeah, Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was a blast. And I hope that everybody else enjoyed this interview as well.
Absolutely. And once again, where can we find things, all things Lola Harvey on social media and your merchandise?
Yeah, absolutely. So as we mentioned before, Dutch Clutch, obviously on Insta, and Duchess _ Lola Harvey on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. So yeah, check it out.
Oh, and you don't have to type it into your Google machine. All of the links to all her social media and merchandise will be in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox. Simply click the link. A new tab will appear on whatever device you are on. You have no excuse. Buy a damn shirt. Of course,
No excuses.
yes. Of course, thank you for listening. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment, both on YouTube and Castbox. This was sponsored by Rogue Energy and Hale Coffee. Join us next Tuesday and Wednesday for new incredible interviews. Follow the show at Wrestling with E, but on X, Instagram, and Thread. Follow me personally at JamesJ993. Alright, Lola, when I say wrestling wit, you say entertainment, okay?
Absolutely.
For our very special guest Lola Harvey, Kaliko Yacht, Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling with
Entertainment.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.